Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to SGN Channel, the Signature Global Network podcast. Today, this episode, I have invited a very special guest. His name is Rudee Bertie. Rudee has been in the industry for a very long time. You're gonna find out more throughout the interview. And he has been owning 3 companies so far, and the company names are Non-EX, ATM, and also Next. Wow, he's a founder CEO for Non-EX, co-founder, CEO, and chairman for ATM as well as Next. Rudee is a successful entrepreneur and he's also a logistics visionary. I'm so excited to introduce him to you, and he's also a very successful expert and master in the e-commerce industry as well. I've known Rudee for almost 18 years. He has always been an amazing leader, good listener, and he's always good at driving the most and the best from people in his lives. And it's not just about driving them, but encourage them and empowering them to take lead and to be the next leaders as well. Rudee and I are very like-minded people. We both have the same goal that we always want to help people to achieve their dreams. People in our lives be like us as well to achieve our dreams and their dreams together. He's an amazing friend and he also has a wonderful family as well. So ladies and gentlemen, without any delay, let's welcome Rudee Bertie to this show. Enjoy the interview. Hey Rudee, how are you?
Hey, good. And you?
Welcome to this podcast, Signature Global Network podcast.
Yeah, it's taken a long time to get me on, but I'm finally here.
Yes, appreciate your time. And ladies and gentlemen, just want to quickly introduce this amazing guy. His name is Rudee Bertie. As you can see, we are very authentic and we are just being ourselves here, guys. So welcome, Rudee. And Rudee has been in the e-commerce industry for how long now? Rudee, you want to tell the audience?
Yes, hello everybody. I've been involved in the logistics freight forwarding industry for a very long time, since my inception, right? So going all the way back to probably 1986, that's when I first had my first job in freight forwarding at Heathrow Airport, London. Very quickly, moved up the ranks, if you know what I mean. And then probably in and around between 1999 and 2005, when I first kind of embarked on my first type of e-commerce logistics experiences. So yeah, if we go all the way back to like the early 2000s, right, that's when I first been involved in e-commerce logistics.
Thank you, Rudee. When you say 1986, I thought that's the year you were born. So I can't imagine when a baby start running a business. That's awesome. So Rudee, you do look really young though. I can't believe what you said, but I know it's true, and which is why we have you here. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're not aware, Rudee has been in the logistics industry, but he's also a very successful entrepreneur. He does different works and different business. And Rudee, do you want to take us through something, like except for the e-commerce part? Is there anything you want to share with the audience about what you do?
Right here, right now, what I'm doing at the moment, I've come away from my day-to-day job. So I founded a business in 99, right? I say that the business name, it was CCL, Customs Clearance Limited, founded in the UK. And very quickly, we found that there was so much competition within the London area, within the UK area. So we had to find some type of niche, basically to separate us and give us some room between us and the rest, if you know what I mean. So e-commerce was the one. So we decided to take on the challenge of introducing e-commerce through the UK, through the rest of Europe. So in a nutshell, we basically set up the UK operation to be the European gateway. So London was the European gateway, right, for us. And very quickly, we established a business and we became the number 1 European gateway, the market leading gateway logistics of e-commerce clearance through London. Right now, there's so many different areas of e-commerce, but the area of e-commerce which I concentrate in was the cross-border, right? So the cross-border, the customs, the compliance, the DDU versus DDP stroke, you hand it over to final mile delivery, right? That was a big area of concentration. Since 2022, I've since left the business. I sold the business, and the company's still going, the staff, all the major staff are still there. All the senior members of staff are still there. Some people had some good promotions, etc. So we're still very friendly with the company. Yeah, we're still very friendly with the company and the organization. Obviously, I built the business, right? So it's something which I've been a part of, and it's been a part of my life for 24 years.
Baby.
100%. Right? 100%. When you leave that business or you leave that company, You don't really want to go into another business or company and compete against what you've already built.
I can completely understand what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me to do that. But I know some people do, whatever. But to me, that doesn't make any sense. So I stepped away from that, gave myself some time to think about what it is that I wanted to do. And I've always been like, I've always been interested in the network side, right? So I've always been interested in talking to people, in traveling to different countries, visiting clients and customers, and, doing presentations, keynote speaking and all that kind of stuff. And so I decided, let me just create my own e-commerce network. All of the companies which I was competing against, right? Now they can all become my friends. Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, they don't have to talk behind my back anymore. They can talk in front of me, right? So they can become my friends. We can come up with solutions together through the network, because e-commerce logistics is all about collaboration, right? You have to collaborate. There's no one moving part that takes you from A to B. There's so many moving parts, right? So many different steering wheels, so many spinning wheels as well, where you have to get from A to B. There's so many different verticals in there, right? So you have to collaborate in order to get the right solution for your customer, right? You can look at wherever you want to look at, right? Big branded companies out there who can sell you an e-commerce solution, but I can guarantee you they're using like local heroes to do the bits that they cannot achieve.
Thank you, Rudee. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned about you are running an e-commerce network and you are here as a guest, and I'm also running a logistics network. And it's pretty strange to have competitors like this, to have an interview and something like this. But I want to share that I think we both are very like-minded, that we don't feel the competition. It's more like collaboration. And that's why we're giving this platform, right? To let people know, because e-commerce is also part of logistics and it's really becoming so important. And we also open doors for e-commerce members as well, but it's not our primary focus. Like, we do want to expand this. I mean, through this channel, or if someone really has full, you guys want to come in, right? You're welcome to come to our network. But I would love to have people like you, Rudee, because you already got so much experience in the e-commerce industry, and you got all these like-minded people that share their experience. And so Rudee, by saying that, you want to share your thoughts about this part. How can we collaborate, or talking to someone who's outside there? Maybe they're also logistics network owners, or someone, they are fearful, they worry that, if we get someone who are the same, like we talk together and we share all these secrets, it's gonna be really unsafe and insecure. So what is your takeaway? What's your keynotes about it? Thank you.
Right. First of all, it is about collaboration, right? So whether you're being part of one network and I'm being part of another network, we both have, if you want, areas in there that we can share. Or every network isn't exactly the same, right? Meaning every network doesn't have the same formula. You might have some of the same members, but each member is slightly different to the other, right? So where I'm concentrating on with NEX, with my network, is we're concentrating on end-to-end supply chain, B2C e-commerce, right? So that could incorporate manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer, reseller, and then you have all the logistics arms, right? The customs brokers, the warehouse management, the final mile.
Right.
And you bring all that in as a combination to come up with some type of e-commerce solution, e-commerce collaboration, right? So working with you or being part of what you're doing, I don't see as competition. I see purely as collaboration. There's synergies in there that we could take advantage of, right? So, for example, if one of my members, if you want, are looking for a customs broker in a particular country, which we do not have access to that country, and you do, and then it works, right? If your members are looking to start or get involved in e-commerce and they really don't know where to start, but their particular customer is always coming to them saying, look, you need to be involved in e-commerce. And if you're not involved, I'm going to have to take the business and move it somewhere else, right? Then that's going to be a problem to them. So at least if they say, look, don't worry, we're taking steps to learn how to deal with this e-commerce, I think that can only be a good thing, right? That can't hurt anybody, you know what I mean?
That's
right.
True.
So other network owners, like, maybe just take note and see what we're doing here and collaborate, right? So we should all be collaborating together. There's enough space out there. E-commerce is still growing. It's still a growing, I wouldn't say a growing concern, but it's still a growing situation for lots of freight forwarding companies out there, right? Embrace it. Don't try and run away from it, because it's going to catch you up. And if you're not ready to take it, it's going to overtake you.
Wow, I love that. I always say it's like the technology and the AI. I always say to everyone, guys, embrace. If you don't want to embrace it, you're going to be caught by them because
Yeah.
they're moving. And in the coming 1 year, even 5 years, you cannot imagine how this world will become. But if you don't even open the door, embrace what's there to learn and to understand, to be a master, to be an expert, you will be out of date. And there are many other new generation of people who are really embracing and learning will just catch you up, which is not good. You know, the
No,
story of Nokia, we don't want to talk about that story, but I always talk about it, like the innovation problem. That's why they failed. And they didn't do anything wrong except for they're not embracing
yeah,
the future, the new thing, right? So I
exactly.
like that. I agree with you. And in saying about that, I just want to quickly say I agree with you as well, because it's about we cannot do everything. Like,
No,
for example, right now we have so many free forwarders in the world, but why there are still so many new free forwarders they're opening the companies? Because
exactly.
each person has their own relationships and the clients, and even someone might like you, someone might not like you, right? So we all have
Exactly.
different audience. So the best way to make this world a better place is to work together. And especially when we are thinking very alike, we should then bring out whatever that's there. We can then, hey, how can we help each other? Because our goal is the same. We want to bring a better place to this world.
Exactly. And just to come back on that slightly. So I can have a group of up to 100 supply chain logistics experts in one room, right? You can have in the room next door up to 100 supply chain freight forwarders in the room, right? That don't do e-commerce. And I can guarantee you there could be a point where none of these people have actually met before. They've never met. They've been doing business for the last 20 years. They've been concentrating in their lanes, right? They've been successful doing what they're doing, but they've never actually crossed paths before. This is the strength of the collaboration. It's the strength of the collaboration. And like you said, there are lots of freight forwarding companies coming up. There's some older ones, but there's new ones coming up all the time.
Yes.
Right? The new ones coming up, they embrace the technology because they're looking at solutions. How can they do it more accurate? Right?
Yeah.
How can they do it, more cost effective? How can they do this and still compete with the best out there? Because technology is driving logistic solutions. Regardless, you could argue with me about it all day, but I see it, you know it, right? They all know it. Like technology is driving solutions. Like we know, you go onto your online resellers and you buy yourself an item. As soon as you log on to that, that's technology taking over. It's taken over your whole life, because from that point to delivery point, you now have access to tracing that delivery all the way through. And that could be on B2B, or it could be on B2C. It could be on B2B2C. It could be on post. It could be on anything you want it to be.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have a tracking requirement, and that's mandatory for every single thing. You know what I mean? Even from an airway bill or bill of lading, that is now on the system in the cloud somewhere, being tracked and traced. Technology is taking over.
I like that. And how do you think, Rudee? Because for my observation, like, I don't think there's many freight forwarders are actually really implementing these technology things. Maybe they're talking about it. Maybe they're still observing. Maybe they think, okay, it is good, but how can we connect from what they are doing to what I'm doing right now? So in saying that, what are the obvious things that you've seen so far that people are actually using it to the logistics industry? And what are things that they haven't yet that you think there's a great opportunity there according to your, experience and your opinion? That would be awesome, Rudee. Can you share?
I think it could be down to cost, because, for example, if you're controlling a B2B business, that's pretty much business to business, traditional handling, traditional type of data elements, documentation, etc., etc. But once you get into B2C, or you go to B2B2C, you have to change the whole infrastructure of how you're handling the business, right? So the customs clearance needs to change. The warehousing management needs to change. The delivery structures need to change. Now, that all comes down to you need to invest in these areas, and you need to invest in some type of technological solution. For example, if I'm delivering some furniture to a furniture store, I have one bill, one invoice, one delivery note. If I then go from that same furniture store and I'm delivering to 1,000 different places around the world, I need to now have my one pickup point. I need to now have my 1,000 delivery points around the world. How do I do that? Right, manually, yes. But if you want to have like accuracy, HS classification, denied parties, pay the right duty and taxes in the different countries, and still have the final mile delivery on time, technology, you need to invest in these areas. And I think the complex notion of it kind of frightens off companies, right? Because they don't want to take on business and they don't want to mess it up, right? So And then when you say, right, you need to have this and this and this in place, then the balance of that is, well, we'll continue doing this because this is probably going to cost us too much anyway, right?
Yeah.
And but really and truly, I just think it's down to education, right? The more education there's out there, then the less of a complex understanding it will be, right? And you'll be surprised how uncomplex this situation is
That's true.
if you have the understanding.
I completely agree with you.
No, because there are so many different software solutions out there already. So they wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. They just need to be able to tap into what's already out there.
And the good thing is when you're waiting, every day there's new things coming out. Actually, it's cheaper, more cost effective because technology is upgrading every single day. But by saying that, if you keep waiting, you never take action, you will never get there. So it's about not just think about it, not just talk about it, but make it day one rather than one day. So it's really important to look at and learn. Like you said, education is really important to understand.
No, it's true. And let me just come in on that again, right? So this is like case in point. So since I've been away from the business on a day-to-day basis, I'm in a situation now where I can have these conversations with, other leaders of the industry, some of them which were my competitors. So when I created CCL, so me and my co-founder, we said, right, how are we going to compete with the best on our low budgets? How are we going to do this? So we said, right, we need to create technology to keep up, right? So we wanted to give them the what we call the FedEx treatment. Whenever you go onto a FedEx website, you put in the tracking number, you get all the touch points. So you know exactly where it is, when it's going to be delivered, time slots and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we wanted to do. So we went to, market leading software writers, and they was quoting us monies, which was just ridiculous. And we're like, this ain't gonna work for us. And so we had to find somebody locally and start to write software, had to write the code. So we basically just we found somebody and we said, look, we might just need you like maybe for 1 day a week. And that 1 day a week turned into this guy is like fully employed now for the business. He's the IT director, etc., right? But my point is we had to build it ourselves because there was nothing out there for us at that particular time. So we had to build it. And as we built it, and then we started to bring on more customers. As we started to bring on more customers, we had to bring on new coders. As we bring on new coders, we're developing new services. And if that's the situation that you got, so one is chasing after the other, right? So as you grow, you bring on new customers, you grow, right? When I'm talking about case in point, so when I'm left the company and I'm talking to these ex-competitors of mine, they say, look, Rudee said, look, you've done us a favor. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, because you built the system and we just adapted the system. So we learned from what you did and we won new business. And I said, of course I know that, right? Because I knew there's nothing else out there. I said, I actually take that as a compliment because they're learning from me, even though they're competitors, competition's healthy, right? And I said, look, I know I take it as a compliment, but I even take it more as a compliment that you actually coming and talking to me about it rather than trying to claim it for yourself, right? So to me, that's case in point. And another case in point is we built systems where we had like a DDU versus a DDP payment solution for e-commerce, right? And it's an automated system where the consignee could go on their mobile phone and they can make a payment and it will release their goods and it'd be out for delivery. 10 years later or 12 years later, there's companies out there that are doing that as a bespoke service, right? We created solutions out there where we do automated HS classification, right? Tariff codes. Now there's companies out there which are out there do that as a bespoke service. So they do duty classification, they give you a tax calculation. We never had that. So we had to create all this stuff ourselves. And by creating it, it allowed us to win business, right? So if you don't embrace the technology and you try to stay away from it, then one day it's going to catch you up. You look at the world now. So the world leaders, the world governments, they look at HS classification. They look at denied parties. They look at all kinds of stuff and they base it all around security and tax evasion. So all this stuff is there. And it will play into the hands of the freight forwarders, if you want, that want to embrace it. It's already there.
That's very true. Thank you, Rudee. I love the insight. And one thing is funny when we go through the customs borders, and before you don't have to use all the fingerprints and stuff. Now it's all about show your face picture and then fingerprint and you can go through. Like sometimes that's good, but sometimes I feel really like you have to fill the form and the Wi-Fi was cut and then you have to redo the form. So there is good things, but there's also a little bit frustrating. But in short, and we see more benefits than the disadvantage, right? So we all agree.
100%. This is my utopia moment, my ideal solution. When we first started writing code and writing solutions was I receive a manifest from overseas. I could be not in the UK. I could be in a totally different country, and I get notification on my mobile phone. I verify, agree, customs cleared, out for delivery. That was my utopia moment. That was like 15, 16 years ago, if not longer.
Wow.
That is happening. That's happening now today. You can have a customs clearance just by one single upload and out for delivery. All that is happening today. On one hand, you could say you're killing the workforce, but on the other hand, you could say you're increasing the workforce in a different area of business.
Yes.
Right. So you could be killing the expertise of the customs broker, but then you're enhancing the business in a different area. That's what you need to wear.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm very, like you, embracer of the AI and new things. And I learned about the disadvantage stuff. And because you can find better ways, just because you're afraid, then you avoid to do better ways, right? You don't so you still have to face it and embrace it, but there's other areas. There's always more room. There's always somewhere that you can produce
100%.
more workforce, and you can make this world even better place to support people. To, like, I saw this technology for the surgery. Like, you don't even need to train the doctors. Like, oh, that's scary, but it's happening. Everything's happening.
I'm not going to be the first one for that.
You don't need that, Rudee.
You said that sometimes the Wi-Fi cuts out. If the Wi-Fi cuts out in the middle of a surgery, then we're doomed. That's it. We're done.
This is a funny talk show now. Awesome. But there's another one though, a quick one. Since we're talking about AI, there's another funny story. It's talking about, this clone yourself in the future, or you can clone the best wife that you want, design for you like a partner and this kind of thing. They're really talking about it. And the robot, and it's like having exactly the face, the perfect face you want to serve you. And this guy they imagine, because some people, they're so rich, right? Like, I know you are rich too, Rudee. I'm saying there are people who are more than rich. Like, they have so much money to spend, and then they want something like that. And the funny thing is, when they get to 80 years old, like, everybody wants to get younger, keep younger. And if we can be alive forever, that'd be great, right? But talking about that moment when you got 80 and your relatives or children, they don't have like time, whatever, to take care of you. And people are thinking about get the robot and train them and exactly know your emotion, talk the words you want to hear, and be your listener. That's crazy.
I'm not for that, man. When I get to 80, I don't want to be young again. I want to do my thing, go gracefully. Yeah, none of this, none of this trying to be young and all. Nah, forget that. I don't want a robot to take care of me.
No, what I'm saying here, it sometimes can be a bit crazy when people are, going too extremely. So someone is doing that, right? And
yeah, but the thing is, it's real. I get your point. It's real. It's already happening. We think about this like, wow. Again, going back on your mobile phone and how we're talking now, we're streaming and with video uploads and all this kind of stuff, right? This was never even possible 20 years ago.
Yes.
Not for regular people like me and you on your mobile phones, on your tablets. It wasn't even possible, right? This was just stuff that people used to talk about. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Right now, look, we all take it for granted now. During lockdown, these video streaming,
FaceTime,
FaceTime, all that,
to keep the
went
connection
through the roof.
Yeah.
And I know we use it now today, but people still want to have face-to-face meetings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid kind of solution, and it works. You see what I mean? It works.
Yeah. And to conclude here, Rudee, we all agree that technology is something that's really helpful. It's a great tool for us. We really have to embrace. In the meantime, I don't think it's going to take over human, because many people who are against it is they worry about, taking the workforce or replace someone. Like you said, you're not going to get a girlfriend who's actually a robot, right? Even though she looks perfect. That's scary. Like, human is still human, guys. So not possible to take over. Like, we really just need to look at the good side.
But you don't know. You don't know whether I'm a robot or not. You don't know. You have no clue.
Okay, testing. When was all the information, because you got all this transferred in the robot set. Yeah, that's true.
It's like learning technology. I'm the robot. I've learned everything about Rudee throughout his whole career. I could tell you everything. I could tell you stuff that Rudee has forgotten because I'm the robot.
Yes, they even remember better than you do. And the other crazy thing is, even ChatGPT is here now, and they're talking about this system. It's actually upgrading every day, learning like how much thousands times faster than us. So like, it sounds like, wow, it's crazy.
Learning behavior is crazy.
Yeah. So imagine we were a baby first and we learned how to walk, we learned this. It takes us like 20 years to be an adult, to learn all of these things. They can keep going like within 1 month. They already learn your 20 years things. So like that's the part people are, oh, scary. But you know what? We know what we're talking about. We just need to keep learning and growing the knowledge. That's very important.
See, but this is the thing, right? So what you just said there, right? Does that frighten you? Are you scared, right? So that robot, that learning behavior, they can learn it within a day, for argument's sake. That's taking you 20 years, right? Does that frighten you? Are you scared of that? No, because you're thinking it's never going to be me, right? So then on that flip side, from a freight forwarder's world, why not embrace technology? Don't be scared of it because it's never going to overtake you.
Exactly.
You see what I mean? You still have to feed it in order for it to develop and to deliver what you want it to deliver, right? It's all about embracing it rather than being afraid of it.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like in the darkness, you are afraid. But when you go there and turn on the light and check, nothing to be scared of. So it's the more you want to hide, the more scary it becomes. And also, I think there's another scary part is they feel like, oh, it's too hard for me. Like it's all there, the software. And you know, I like the part you shared that you are surrounded by people who are really intelligent and stuff. It's not about one person doing everything. It's about that you find the right people who can do it. It's about teamwork. So maybe you want to talk about that, Rudee. How did you learn from your journey? Like you become successful. Like what do you learn and what's your suggestion to people who are wanting to be like you or they want to have successful business? What is your advice to them?
I could be here forever, tell the truth. But some of the key points, I remember a couple of decades ago, I went away. I was on a business trip and I was in this room with probably like 1,200 delegates. And I didn't really have any time at all to check my emails and whatnot. And being 7 hours ahead, I was in, I think I was in Hong Kong. So being 7 hours ahead of the UK, when I did have the time, I went back and started checking my emails. Now, one of the guys which I met on that trip, he said to me, he said, Rudee, he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just checking my emails. Like it's any of his business. You know what I mean? Right? I said, checking my emails. And he said, can your business not operate while you're awake? And I said, what do you mean? He said, who's running your business? Are you running your business or is your business running you?
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I don't really know what you mean, but I think I know what you mean. And so I had to process it, right? Anyway, so I processed it. So as soon as I got back from that trip, the very first thing I did, every single thing I could delegate to certain staff members, I did, right? So that when I was away on business or even if I was out for lunch or whatever, I knew that the business would still operate, right? So I surrounded myself with the right people, right? The right people in terms of, you know, good financial people you need, right? You need good people to advise you on certain things. So they could be older mentors. They could just be, you know, people that's just good savvy, a good balance of understanding. You need good operators, right? So if you're going to delegate your business, you need a good operator within the business that could take on instructions and deliver to how they need to deliver, right? You need people that understand good customer care because you want your staff to represent your customer the same way that you would, right? You don't want your staff getting on the phone representing your customer how you wouldn't represent because they're representative of the business, which ultimately is a representation of you. So I think one of the points is you need to be able to delegate as a leader, right? You can't work and bury your head under the books and under the documents and in your computer. And then when something goes wrong, you cannot bury your head in the sand and wish that magically something's going to happen. You need to be able to stand back and see exactly what's going on in the business and how the business is being run. And you can only do that if you delegate certain tasks to key people. Surround yourself with smart people. Surround yourself with people that want to learn, right? Surround yourself with people with integrity and honesty. Surround yourself with creative people because as you learn from them, they're going to learn from you.
I love that. Thank you,
in
Rudee.
a nutshell.
That's so true. And, you know, being a leader is not about taking charge of the business. It's taking charge of the people who is running the business. So people is a key. Like if you find
100%.
right people, you can run a better business. Because if you are micromanaging everything, you're not a leader, you're just a manager and your company or your business is going nowhere. And that's a very, very important point that there are so many small, medium freight forwarders or logistics companies. We cannot blame them. We all came from there. Like your story, you were checking. Yeah, sometimes I'm still get into the details like, oh, I need to drag myself out. No. Leave it for the team, right? So it still happens. But we just need to understand that if we agree and we know that this is the right thing to do, we need to practice, we need to find the right people, and then we can do something even bigger, something even better so that the team feels supported as well because they need encouragement, they need empowerment. If you are so busy running the business together, you don't have time for them.
Exactly that. And the thing is as well, because I was so good at delegating, so when I stepped away from the business for all these years, and the simplest thing, like, how do I set up an email? How am I going to create this spreadsheet? The simplest things, right? Because you haven't done it for such a long time, then you kind of lose certain, because you've always had someone else doing these things, you know what I mean? When I left the business and I set my consultancy company up and I was doing the work, everything was fine. But then I had to invoice the client. I'm like, shit, how am I going to do that? Right. And so, but very quickly,
so funny.
right? So very quickly, you realize there's apps out there, there's software out there where you don't have to sit there and do it all yourself. You can just buy one off the app store and everything is just there, right? So even the customer, they probably think I'm still running like a big conglomerate company, but it's just me, right? Doing my bits in the background. I have a handful of people working around me doing their bits in the background, but then together we come together when we're running some kind of organization, right? So that was an eye opener for me, right? So interesting, but you can't be in a situation where you don't empower the people. Without people, you have no business. You need to empower the people in and around the business in order to have a successful business.
Very true. I completely agree with you, Rudee. Thank you so much for your sharing and the stories. I really love them. And that moment, I'm going to remember that forever when you want to send invoices or get into the invoice. That's pretty funny. Thank you, Rudee. So we have covered a few main things. One is about AI technology and also e-commerce, which is so good. And then we also talked about leadership. That's amazing. So Rudee, our audience, most of them are from the logistics network and freight forwarders and supply chain and so on. Do you have anything you want to share with them, like looking at the right now, the market or the trend? Like, I know you're out a little bit now, you're more about people's business and networking stuff, but many things they're actually connected. So do you have any advices for those, they're worried about the economy or they worry about this, worry about that? What is your takeaway? Like, what is your keynotes that you want to encourage them to look at the future? What do they need to get ready and prepared? So maybe, when the economy is changed or whatever, because history repeats. Economy is always up and down, right? So there must be something that you want to share, right? Rudee, go.
Yes, in regards to like economy, right? I would say in your good years, your good days, your good months, right? Save and save and save for a rainy day, right? Meaning you don't want to be in a situation where you're spending all your profits when everything's good. You need to be able to put some of those profits away. I'm not teaching anybody anything that they don't already know, because when the economy is down, you need to be able to go into your resources in order to survive the bad times. And that's history repeating itself. If you went a business in the bad times and it's always bad and you never seen the good times, then you're always going to think every day is going to be a struggle and you're going to be struggling forever, right? But there's always good times. Where there's winners, there's going to be losers, right? So if we're in a bad economy, there's going to be losers. Somebody has to pick up the pieces. So somebody's going to be the winner, right? What I've found in time as a business, why the business is still going since it was established in 99. In the roughest times, in the baddest times, it's normally the bigger companies that can't survive. But the smaller and the medium companies, they can survive because they're more agile. They're very fluid. They're quick to change, very practical. The big companies are more structured.
Yes.
Right. And the first thing they look at is cutting overheads. But with the smaller companies, the more agile companies, they look at, okay, how can we pivot? How can we move? How can we ride this wave? How can we drive the curve? You know what I mean? And that's what I found. So I never wanted to be involved in a large business. A small to medium sized business to me was the way, because that way you can still conduct what's going on, right? And you're more susceptible to change. And when things get hard, you go into your reserves, go into your resources and see how you can manage the situation a lot better. Because big companies, they look at get rid of these people, close that department, marketing needs to go. All the stuff that they need in a business, especially in today's age, you need digital marketing today. It's number one, right? And obviously you need a strong financial team, right? To understand the finances of the business. And then obviously you still need to have like your operation and you still need to have your sales. Because if you don't have these elements, then you might as well close shop and go somewhere else. But the thing is, you have to ride the wave, because it's not always going to be downturn. You're going to get that upturn and you have to be ready. So you can't say, I'm going to fire all these people because you don't have the business. You're going to be in a position is like when the business comes back. Remember, there's winners and losers. You're going to pick up business. You need to be able to have the people around in order to service the clients. Otherwise, you're back to square one.
Wow. Thank you so much. Round of applause, guys. It's amazing sharing. And as we can tell, that is why you're successful, because you have so much knowledge and experiences. And I believe we all learned from the lessons that we had before. So I really like your sharing. Thank you so much, Rudee. Thank you again. And just to conclude what you said, yes, it's about seasons. Seasons for sowing, seasons for planting seeds, seasons for reaping, seasons for sometimes it's winter. Winter is that you need to sleep, right? There's not much going on. And sometimes spring comes and you need to get ready for that and so on. So definitely that's very, very important. But sometimes we tend to focus on too much on, oh no, and be dragged by the fear or worries. And instead of finding solutions, we start to look at excuses or, what's going on. We talk about, oh, why it's happening and this and that. You just look at small things, like small steps you move. You can already find solutions.
When we had lockdown, the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, right? The first thing you think about is survival. So you go into survival mode, right? This industry, the logistics freight forwarding industry, went into survival mode and came out the winners. I spoke to so many companies, so many organizations that said, we've had our best years ever.
The best.
Do you understand what I mean? Right? Yeah. So in time of, oh my goodness, what we're going to do?
It's a difficulty time. It's actually there are opportunities. So
that's the time when you rise up.
Yes. When there's a problem, there's opportunity.
Because we're in an industry where we find solutions. That's what we do. We find solutions, right? We don't wait for stuff to happen.
Yes.
We've got the solution. Just bring it to us. We've got the solution. So what I've said throughout the past hour or whatever, I'm not saying anything that nobody else doesn't know or they haven't done. What I'm probably saying is I'm just realigning and just refocusing on the things that they already know. Refreshing. That's it. Yeah. Hit the refresh button. Wow. Right? Because sometimes we forget certain things, you know what I mean? So it's all about realigning to what we already know. And sometimes the realignment to the basics, that's the power of what you need to move forward.
Wow. So powerful. Thank you, Rudee. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for allowing me to share.
Thank you. Yeah. I hope to get you again next time. I really enjoy this. We need to get you again. Thank you so much.
100%. Definitely.